Hey guys, welcome back to the channel again, and today we've got another book review. And this time we are reviewing The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. So normally I've been trying to avoid starting off a book review by just giving my full, honest, blunt opinion to a book without at least talking about the synopsis and other finer points of the book and talking about some of the technical aspects such as the writing, the pacing, the characters, stuff like that. And I will get to that, but first I just have to say this. I really have to get this off my chest. I love this book. This book is awesome. It's probably one of the best kids books I've ever read, not written. One of the best kids book that I've ever read, and it's not a fantasy. Believe it or not, it's actually not a fantasy in the lightest, but it's probably one of the better kids book that I've read, and it's probably one of the funnest and coolest books as far as the stuff that this author does, that Trenton does, really brings this book to life in many different ways, even in an interactive type of way. And just to kind of give you an idea of what I mean by that, I'm going to show you something real quick on the back of the book. I don't know if you can see that. That is something that's written in Morse code. I'm trying to get my finger lined up properly, but right there is just something written in Morse code. I'm obviously not going to talk about why it's there or what it is, but that just gives you a hint as to the kind of stuff that this book offers. And it's actually the first one in a series. There's a few other books. I think there's 2 other books, and then there's one sequel, I think. I'm not real sure about that, but this is the first book. And it's just a whole lot of fun to read. It's very witty. It's very clever. It's a very smart book, especially for a kid's book. A lot of adults and kids will love this book. It's also a book that I recommend if you're trying to get a younger reader into reading. It's also a book I recommend to mass order if you're a teacher and have your kids read it in English class. It's literally like one of those books worthy of contention for being a book to study and to get kids into reading. It's a lot of fun. It's a very well done book. So finally, now what can we get into what it's about? Basically, the book revolves around these 4 kids, these 4 characters. Their names are Rainy, Sticky, Kate, and Constance. And they basically both answer this ad in a newspaper to take a test. And it's one of those tests that's meant to be, kind of a mind-bending test, just to kind of see how kind of a smart person you are if you can do certain things like think outside the box and use other skills and tools to your advantage to take this test. Those who pass the test get recruited into the Benedict Society, and basically the first part of the book is basically showing that these 4 kids do get recruited, and once they do, they are tasked by Mr. Benedict himself to go on this special mysterious mission for him, using their own unique intelligence about them to be able to do it. And that's where a lot of the cleverness comes in about with the writing of this book, is because all 4 of these kids are unique also in their personality. They're very well written characters, but they're all 4 very smart, but in their own unique way. And I can't really explain that much without spoiling too much. You kind of just have to read the book to kind of understand how they're unique in their own way. But kind of in a nutshell, Rainy he's smart, but he's more clever in that he's able to see the bigger picture of things, and he's able to see things outside the box. He's able to take unique approaches to solve a problem, and that's kind of his biggest strength. Sticky is basically a walking dictionary. He's basically filled with a bunch of knowledge and information that he can recite without hesitation. He's basically, if he could name off any kind of fact that you can think of, he's got so many different words and facts and other things memorized, and he's just there as like basically a walking computer. That's the only way I can describe it. Now, you would think that alone would make him the smartest in the group, but it's not. And in the sense that his intelligence can sometimes get in the way of solving problems because he thinks almost too logically. He tries to balance the chances and odds of things being what they are when they're not. And he when things don't make sense to him, he can't. When things happen unexpectedly, he can't make sense of it because all he operates off of is a sense of complete logic. And when things don't make sense, he doesn't know what to do with it. And that's how someone like Rennie becomes more valuable, in the sense that he can solve problems without getting flustered about the intricacies of all the small details of that problem, unlike what Sticky could, if that makes any sense. And then there's Kate, who's kind of more of the athlete of the group, but she uses her resources to her advantage when trying to solve problems. She's got basically this bucket of tools that she always keeps at her side, and she uses them to basically solve problems, but in a more physical way. Like, she has things like ropes and tools and things at her disposal to try and solve problems that involve something of a more of a physical aspect. And I know that I'm not trying to shortchange her when I say that, but you really just kind of have to read the book to see how her own intelligence shines in her own unique way. And then there's Constance. Now, Constance is different in the sense that she's kind of more, and I don't mean this in a more, and I don't mean this in a derogatory term. I don't really mean this in a bad, derogatory way. But Constance is kind of like the Rain Man of the group, where her specialty is more refined and unique in the sense that she comes across as dumb to some, to the rest of the group, and that she's wrong about a lot of things, or that she may be seen as lazy or very unhelpful in certain ways. But when it's time for her to be the one who solves the biggest problems in the story, you'll see how she's valuable and how she you'll see how she's valuable in her own unique way, and that she's more of her strongest points are things like her persistence and her insistence on never being wrong, her insistence that things are this way when all evidence and logic points to it not going that way. She'll lead the group into situations that may put them in a precarious situation, but also may be the key to them finally getting past a hard point in the story. Constance is valuable, but she may not seem that way at first. So that's all I'm really going to say about Constance. That being said, the book reads and writes very similar to something akin to like the Lemony Snicket series of like the series of unfortunate events, stuff like that, but and stuff like maybe out of like a Roald Dahl book, but taken to like an nth degree. Like, this book is so clever and so well written. I really can't give it enough praise, honestly. It's, again, a really good book. I bring that up earlier because if you're a big fan of like the series of unfortunate event books, if you're a big Roald Dahl fan, I really recommend this book. It's going to feel similar in writing style and tone to those books, but it's going to take its own unique approach, and there are times where you're going to struggle to put the book down because it really engages the reader. It really feels like an interactive reading experience, especially when it comes to these different problems that these kids have to solve. And when it solves them, you're like, oh, haha, how come I didn't think of that? You know, it really kind of gets the cogs turning in your mind. And I've never really felt that way from a book. And, you know, I'm sure there's other books out there that probably do it better or as good, but like, I that's really all I can really describe it. It's just, the book is really going to make you think as a reader. And I give it a lot of praise for that. So highly, highly recommend Mysterious Benedict Society. If you are interested, please go pick it up. If you want to get your kids into reading, have them give this a shot. If you want to use this in the classroom, that's something I also highly, highly recommend. It's good reading material for a school setting. So another big points to it. So again, that is my review of the Mysterious Benedict Society. Easily probably one of the best kids books that you will read, or at least one of the better kids books that have come out in the recent years. So definitely worthy of giving a shot. So anyway, thank you guys for listening, and stay tuned for more.